More minutes. Okay. I'm hoping a few more people will join here. All right, I'll give it one more minute. And then as people hop on, maybe I'll forego taking attendance today because it's a special meeting, so it's not required.
Does it still need to be recorded out of curiosity?
Yes. Oh,
Gotcha.
yes. Yep.
I figured, but I was curious.
Mhm. We're not voting on anything, so we don't need to have a quorum. It's more of just an opportunity for us all to discuss. So, thoughts on the tuition increase? Okay. Okay, everyone. I think we're just gonna get started so that we can make sure we're wrapped up by 11 o'clock. So welcome everyone to the Student Advisory Committee, a special meeting. It's December 8th at 10:03. We are here today to discuss the proposed tuition increase. It was just asked by the Finance Committee and it's going to the board next week. So by special request, we kind of arranged this meeting so we could all bounce ideas off each other, see what we think about this, what we want to do about this, and just kind of go from there. So it's going to be kind of open-ended. And Pam Helene is also here on this call to answer any questions, or she'll help us pass along any questions to the right people. So she's the Associate Director of Board Affairs. So thank you, Pam, for coming today. So are there any initial thoughts, questions, concerns about our last meeting with CFO Blanchard that we want to start with? Anyone want to kick it off? Hiram, thank you.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So, my biggest problem with it, and I have a lot of problems with it, but I think the question I asked the CFO was essentially asking, are these tuition hikes assuming like current enrollment, or I asked like if they're assuming current enrollment, and my biggest problem is the entire mantra they're spieling is that there's decreased enrollment due to this, decreased enrollment due to that, and we're going to increase tuition, but we're going to assume that we have the current enrollment still. Like, what's the point of even raising tuition? Because you're kind of looking at all the non-traditional students that do have to pay out of pocket. I'm actually one of those. I graduated in Europe, so I actually need to get foundation scholarships, and I can't rely on financial aid because I don't have PACT because I came from Europe. So it essentially is essentially saying look at all those people and tell them, oh, you have to pay 240 more dollars, which when you do math is like $55 every month. That is something that can be spent on food, groceries. That can be spent on something so much better. You are telling people to choose between living and education. In extreme examples, and people are not going to be able to afford the tuition if it keeps increasing like this. And they're saying, oh, we're going to assume current enrollment and increase it based off of that. But if we don't increase tuition, we are going to have major deficits. We learned it this year. You're going to have major deficits if enrollment doesn't maintain. And they're assuming enrollment's going to stay the same, which is like very it's wild that they are preaching that entire, oh, enrollment's going down narrative, but are also planning to increase tuition based off of current enrollment. So just a lot of things don't add up for me. That's I'm kind of getting on a rant, so I'll pause here if there's anyone else that wants to take the floor.
No, I think this is an opportunity to rant and kind of express our thoughts and feelings on it. So thank you a lot. I think you had some really good points about enrollment and retention. I think there's not as much of a focus on that there needs to be, but I hear you there. Michelle, you had a thought?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I was just wondering, like, where is the money actually going? So where can we get, like, I really didn't understand really like how we were gonna be able to, like, what was the plan? I didn't really understand the plan to not raise tuition. So I'm just like, where are we taking the money from? Who is the money going to? And yeah, things like that, because I have a friend that is an international student, and right now she's in debt. So she has to pay tuition. But with them raising it, it's like she's gonna have to pay the debt off that she owes already, and then because she had to switch programs. But the thing was that the one of the deans was supposed to help her with that, but apparently there was nothing to help her with, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so now that the tuition is going up, I'm just concerned about her being able to pay tuition since she's an international student. Like, what's going to happen to our international students who are here on a student visa and things like that. So yeah, I just want to know where the money's going to, how we lost so much of it. I get it, COVID, whatever, but I feel like that's what we keep going back to. I'm like, okay, so what's the solution now? Like, it's all I feel like that needs to be talked about. Like, what is the solution now?
Yeah, no, I think you've got some really good questions there. What is this whole thing about? I can try to speak to it. Pam, do you want to speak to that? Like, give like a synopsis of what's happening, so to kind of remind everyone.
Goodness.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it.
Carla, why don't you start, and I'll support I'll support and embellish as needed. How about that?
Okay. So essentially what's happening is that the CSCU system is for year 2025. For year 24, we're good. We balance out for that year, but for 25 we are 140 million. Am I getting that number correct, Pam?
Yes.
Okay, deficit. So there's many reasons for this. One is definitely the pandemic. We were given one-time funds, and they were used for operating permanent positions or permanent bills. And so that right there is a big problem, because once that money's gone, it's gone, and we don't have anything to continue paying those bills. So that's one issue that ended up happening. But the whole merger, there were some issues. I don't know how to say this. I haven't had to like summarize this yet all in one snapshot, so please bear with me. But the merger of the CT state, it's resulted, there's funds that we need to keep bringing things together. And so everyone in the CSCU system, all of the universities, have kind of pitched in and worked together to lower this deficit. So, I mean, some examples are like campus buildings have closed. Like my campus building, it's closed on Fridays, actually. They've opened up a couple buildings, but I mean, positions aren't being refilled. And I know we as students are kind of feeling that, like tutoring positions aren't being filled. Services aren't getting, positions aren't being, okay, wait. I'm trying to summarize it all in my head and I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm sorry, guys. But essentially, they've worked very, very hard to bring down this deficit down to 40 million. Am I correct, Pam?
For fiscal year 25, correct.
Okay, yes. So 20, that part of that, bringing down that deficit, it's a huge, huge deficit, is that they're proposing and assuming an increased tuition rate of the 5%, and that's average across the universities. So some are higher than others. But on average, you're right, Hiram, that the community colleges, it'll go up by 240 or so it'll go up 240 for the community colleges and then like 650, I believe, for the state for the central, eastern, western, and southern.
And Carla, and for Hiram, that's for the academic year.
Academic
So
year.
that's not just for the semester.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, totally understand your concern for allocating money towards a living budget, you know, food, housing, and all of that. But the 240 is over a 10-month period. So on average, about $24 a month would be the additional. And I know that when I was a student was, you know, a good week's worth of food. So totally understand that concern. Carla, let me assist if I could.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the system gets our funding from two different places, and only two different places. We get it from the state, and we get it from student revenue through tuition and fees. So one of the things that happened in last budget cycle, and Angelo, you want to chime in where need be too. One of the things that happened was a reallocation in addition to the drops in enrollment and the increase cost of everything that's on a campus, from electricity to all of our healthcare benefits going up 10 and 11% per year for employees. So let me get back to the revenue. That comes from just two different places. So if the state doesn't give us enough, the only other two sides of the accounting equation that we can look to is student revenue through tuition and fees, or the reduction in costs. And every one of the 6 institutions has spent the last 6 months, 5 months, working on their own plans on their campuses to try to replace what we lost in state funding through some kind of balance in reduction in costs on campus, through maybe, unfortunately, the reduction in sections and courses and things like that. But also planning for this tuition increase to try to get back to level set for this year. So essentially that's where we are. Not necessarily, you know, it's a very complex picture on how we got here, but there is a decrease in enrollment simply in non-traditional students. There just aren't as many kids graduating from high school, and the non-traditional students are slowly coming back. So for right now, the planning for the students that we have is one of the only models that we can use to calculate or plan for. And these are not exact numbers. These are plans So the only numbers that we can base a plan on are the ones that we actually have, even though we think that enrollment will maybe have a small dip, but then start to grow as we gather more non-traditional students, or students who dropped out pre-pandemic are now coming back into the system. So that's where we are. We only have two sources of income to pay the bills. Those one-time funds, it's kind of like mom and dad giving you money to mom and dad giving you one-time funds for a car, for a down payment for a car, but you choose to use it to go on a vacation, or to, take everybody out for a big dinner or something. You still have to pay for the car. The money is, those expenses are still there, even though you use them for one-time funding. Those expenses go on and on and on, and they were mismatched. So the one-time funding are good for investments, but not for paying regular bills. Because once the one-time funding's gone, you don't have any more money to pay the bills and to continue on, even though they were designated for one-time funding. Anyway, I don't know if that complicates things or simplifies it, but that's kind of my spin on things.
Thank you, Pam.
Did it complicate it? I don't know. It is, there are people here who do nothing but these kinds of modeling and these kinds of calculations. I wish Dr. Blanchard was here to give a better explanation. Luis Sanchez, you're on the road. Do you want to chime in? Yeah, he's
Luis is
listening.
Luis is not able to. He's not on audio or video. He's driving at the moment. This is Angelo. What I'll also do is we'll send out the PowerPoint presentation that CFO Blanchard did for this group last week, so that you guys can reference it and look at some of the slides and the specific numbers and some of the mitigation strategies, instead of kind of seeing that in front of you might be helpful to look at some of the numbers and where the deficits lie.
Yeah, and Angelo, it might be helpful also for the slide deck from the deficit mitigation reports by each of the institutions from the November 15th special meeting.
Yeah, we can
Because
definitely include that link in there. And if you haven't watched the meeting last week with CFO Blanchard, I would definitely recommend you go to the CSU YouTube channel and take a look at that, because he goes into further detail and explains why the numbers are, what they are, and then what some of the reductions are.
Yeah, it is a very, very difficult position everyone finds themselves in, and unfortunately for this part, and it's not that the institution CSU is not going back. We are, advocating very, very strongly daily with all the legislators to try to get money to increase the funding to the system. So we're working every angle that we know. So
Yeah, I just want to say that I think that the direction that would be the most effective for us to go as students is to come together and form some sort of campaign on each campus to talk to our legislators, because that's where the issue is like the state is not funding higher education. Honestly, they're giving mixed messages. They're funding PACT, and they're thinking of like removing barriers and increasing or decreasing the number of requirements to qualify for PACT. However, we're getting decreased funding overall. So I think what we need to do is we need to just talk to our legislators about this and do some sort of mass campaign so they know how much they're impacting us here. So it's less about all us fighting among each other, because we're all working for the same thing. Like, I know that they don't want to increase tuition on us, and we're all working for the same thing with what the state gives us. And so I personally think like we need to get out there, get talking to our student government groups and forming campaigns. The chancellor has said he would help us like start to do that and create events at each individual campus, and really push for this. So does anyone have any thoughts or anything on this?
Can you guys hear me well?
Mhm.
All right, wonderful. This is Anthony Vaccarelli from Tongues Community College. I just want to put my piece into this. Myself and the rest of my student government has kind of took an initiative on that. Last Thursday, we did a little what we're dubbing our Panhandle trip, and we did a trip from trip to Middlesex Community College, Gateway, Southern Connecticut State University, Housatonic, Norwalk, and Western Connecticut State University to connect with their student government and see and compare what has been impacted on their campuses compared to ours, and try to establish contact like a Microsoft Teams chat and see what can we do to combat these deficits.
That's great, Anthony. That's really great. I think that's what we need to do is we need to connect everyone and just get that tell our stories to the legislators, because I feel like when I go to these events, I see staff, I see 4Cs, I see faculty, I see leaders in our communities, but the one missing piece is students. Like they don't hear our stories, and the government does not hear our stories. And by getting out there and telling them how increased tuition, like even though it does seem like we need to raise the tuition, it's the state that's doing this to us, and they need to know how this is impacting us.
Definitely.
Hiram, you have more thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I'm just checking through my teams. How many of you guys are a part of the CT State-SGA teams? Because that is essentially all of the SGA peoples from all the campuses on that.
I will say I have been added to that, but it's been very inactive. So again, Tongues of Student Government is who I'm referring to. We took the initiative to actually go out, connect, and actually make a separate chat room for all the student government officers. And then when we went to Western, their president recommended that we make a separate chat room for just the presidents. So we can all like touch base exclusively. Hey, what can we do? What's going to happen? What has already happened? And what can we do going forward?
Gotcha, thank you.
And then forward that information to the rest of the officers, and then they can disperse that information however they want.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any thoughts? About any of this, about what they think about the increased tuition, where they stand on it, where they think their student government would stand on it?
I just want to say, like, I totally agree with you, Carla, about, students needing to be more involved in this. And I think that it would be a really important and effective thing for, like, there to be kind of campaigns of sorts on each campus, and, like, for there to be more awareness on, like, how students can get involved and that sort of thing. Because I know, like, barely anyone, like, on my campus, like, knows about these, like, potential raises in tuition. And not only that, but the severe budgeting issues and, the deficits. Like, not a lot of people know about it. And I think that, if there was more awareness, students would really care about this and want to get more involved. So I think it's something that I would definitely like to kind of initiate on my campus at Middlesex. So, like, if there's ways that you think we can do that and, like, actual action steps, I would definitely, like, propose it to student senate. Like, I'm the secretary, so I'm very involved in that, and I would definitely, like, want to get involved in something like that.
Yeah, thank you, Luna. I mean, we've had those conversations with the Board of Regents too, that there's this big communication gap and lack of engagement between, like, students would want to get involved if we're educated and know what's going on in the system. So, I mean, I'm totally with you there. Me and Luis have brought this up and relayed that. So it's kind of like, how do we build that or build that bridge, bridge that gap between the two entities to really bring forward our voice? Because I'm with you. There's a whole bunch of people I know that would be willing to get out there if they were knowledgeable about the situation and what's happening with our finances, and if we knew just how important that student voice is, because oh, and we have Donna has a comment. Just one moment, I'm reading it. Oh, she said that if there's a date when all the SGAs plan to go to Hartford, let her know so we can pass along to people located in the state. So, I mean, I think maybe if you all are on board for this, starting some sort of campaign, like me and Luis can work with the chancellor and see what we could do for next steps and getting involved. I mean, I think the first step would be each one of us go back to our campuses and go back to our SGAs and say, like, kind of get them on board and say, like, we're having a budget crisis right now, and the student voice is what's needed. And maybe just kind of bring that up to them to start with, but we'll come up with a solid plan and see what you all think about that. Maybe we'll arrange for another special meeting to kind of come together and see exactly what we want to do here. But does anyone have any thoughts on what they would like to see in some sort of campaign like that? Oh, Hiram, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It was an answer to that response. So Three Rivers is quieting down because it's the end of the semester, but what was actually briefly kind of good at getting people like aware of things, at least, was we would have some students. I work in the student programs office at our school, and I like to plug in student government in the college and career success presentations we have to do. And what I like to do is, I did mention during the previous time there was tuition hikes, which was also last year around the same time, I think, in the active spring semester, I would mention, hey, there are budget cuts going on. I mean, not budget cuts, tuition hikes going on. So try and get involved with student government, because we will give you an outlook on when we're going to have those events. And this doesn't also stretch to college and career success. I know there was a student during the most recent rally in Hartford. I don't correctly remember the date for that, but they had one of the students just had a presentation in one of the history classes and said, "Hey, this is happening. Do it for this reason, or else bad things might happen." Well, bad things are definitely happening, but essentially engaging students where they are is the best thing to do ultimately, which is the most common places where students are going to be in classroom and in social settings like the cafeteria, cyber cafe. For example, last year we had a couple of students at the main lobby entrance, and they essentially had a QR code that created a automated email essentially they could send to all of the legislators, especially explaining why this matters and whatnot. And there was something very similar going around last year, but it's all about making people aware. And once again, it's just finding where students are and really like capitalizing on making sure they have that information where they are.
No, I completely agree with you. We did something similar at my campus. We had a QR code, and you could pull up your legislators. Pam, you had a comment?
Hi, yeah, I just want to add to that. We can also, in addition to touching base with the chancellor for his support and suggestions about how students can be engaged in this process with the state legislators, we can put you in touch with government relations with Sean Bradbury and our new Vice Chancellor of Communications and External Affairs, Adam Joseph, to talk about how the legislative session will run and what dates are coming up in terms of rally dates at the State House and things like that. So at the Capitol. So those are names, and I can assist in getting those things put together for you in terms of, meetings and things like that to get the students activated for to advocate for more funding.
That's great. That's great
Okay.
news, Pam.
Okay,
Thank you.
because we do have a legislative session starting at the beginning of February. So that's when, legislators will be starting in committees and things like that. So
I think contacting them January, February, like at the start of it all, is a great time to get working on this. Like,
Yeah.
Not for this semester. I mean, we're finishing up with finals and all that,
Right.
but January, we could have a solid plan in place, and
activate the student activity advisory committee of the board to get rolling and meet with legislators under the guidance of government relations here, so that you organized and all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed if you guys are going to be gathering, etc. So, okay.
Thank you. Donna had another comment. She said, perhaps you already mentioned this before I joined, but did the Board of Regents approve the tuition increase at their meeting? So our Board of Regents meeting is being held next week. The Finance Committee approved it, though.
Yeah,
So,
Finance approved it to be moved for the move for consideration to the full board. Yep. Which is Thursday the 14th.
So, okay. It seems like we're missing a few of our our strongest voices here. Some that had some very passionate comments last week. So that's unfortunate that we don't have them here today, unfortunately. But so maybe, I mean, how do you guys feel about doing another special meeting? Maybe Luis and I, it seems like he's jumped off the call for now, but I'll connect him with him on this. How do you all feel about maybe doing another special meeting? We'll gather some information and a game plan and kind of go from there. How do you all feel about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it'd be important to have a meeting where, we actually formulate like a plan with steps, because I know the first step is like talking about it and, all of us being aware of it and kind of doing our best to make other students aware of this. But I think it's really important to like actually make a plan and not just talk about it.
I agree with you. And I think being properly educated too on what's going on, because the more I'm participating in the Board of Regents and all that, the more I'm seeing just how complicated this is. And either direction, like next week, if I vote yes, it sends one message. If I vote no, it sends another message. So kind of figuring out where we stand and what we want to do about this as a student body. So if you have, after this meeting, if you have any thoughts or questions or anything, please direct them to me or Luis or both of us, and we can connect to find the right answer for you. Or if you have any questions on what's happening, it sounds like we're getting the spreadsheet sent to us. So, or it might come from me, I'm not sure yet. But if you need any additional information on why this is the way it is, or the complexities of it, just let me know. All right. Well, anyone have any other final thoughts? No?
Sorry, this is Nelly Rivera from Naugatuck Valley. And I will definitely let my SGA know about what we talked today, about things we're planning on doing to actually take action, because this is quite alarming. Although I believe we just had our last SGA meeting yesterday, but I will let them know. Maybe they'll decide amongst themselves what to take action or how to take action for next semester. And hopefully they'll get back to me, and I'll let you guys know of what they think about and what they come up with, and I'll share our ideas on how to do so. So I may have not been paying attention, but I think the conclusion we've come to is just letting students know and let them speak, um, so that we can all collectively gather and let the higher ups know about their involvement in this, right, and how it affects our students. So hopefully we can let them know about such things. So I'll definitely let you guys know, and hopefully it turns out good. Hopefully it all works out. I will be graduating this semester, so unfortunately I might not see what happens afterwards, but hopefully whoever takes my place can tell you guys in the following semester.
We'll miss you, Nelly. Congratulations, though, on graduating.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have a really good point there that like maybe for going into this, we have a unified message that we've planned for, armed with information on what's happening and what you can do. But then I think that's a great idea that like we present to each campus, and each campus runs different. They have their own population, that everyone's kind of doing their own things. So see what the SGA for your campus, how they feel would be the best way to approach some sort of campaign, and maybe we'll just gather ideas at our next meeting and present them as different ways that you can engage with your students at your campus and try to get them involved. So, okay. Well, are there any final thoughts on this, or Pam and Angelo, do you have any final thoughts?
I just have one final thing. Like, our last student senate meeting is on Tuesday, so I'm definitely going to bring this up then during like open discussion, but I can probably like at the next meeting that we have, the next special meeting, I'll kind of update you and let you know.
That's great. That's great. And we'll stay in touch about another special meeting to talk about this. Donna asked if there is a list of various representatives so students could contact them and share their individual stories. Yes, we will get that to you. Well, to everyone.
Yeah, Carla, you can get that from Sean Bradbury in Government Relations.
Okay, thank you. Writing that down. Okay, well, if there are no final thoughts, last call.
I would like to say something, and I like to answer Luna's question and Nellie's question to like bring information to the general student body. Just out of curiosity, do you guys have a first year experience or a college and career success course on your campuses?
Yes.
Supposedly Naugatuck Valley does, however, I did not know, so it does exist, but it's not well known.
Okay. I've been suggested this, but I'm going to forward this as well. Make a PowerPoint about what the student government is, and then in that presentation go along the impacts of the budget cuts on the campuses, so they know who you guys are and what they're experiencing at this moment.
And you suggest we present this at the college career success classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Because most likely they might be within their first year.
Yes, like I know on our campus, it's been implemented that all like first years or all students like that are in their first year have to take college career success. So that's definitely relevant here. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea too. Like a unified PowerPoint with information what you can do and present it to as many people as we can in whatever form that takes on each campus. So kind of takes in consideration what Hiram said about like finding the people where they are, sort of thing. So maybe that's CCS course if the professors allow that, or holding events on your campus, or that sort of thing. And I think that's a great idea, personally. Okay. Okay, well, I think maybe we've got some really great ideas here, and so maybe we'll close it up for the day unless there's any final thoughts. Just raise your hand. Oh, we do have, Anthony said that idea is extended to all other campuses. Okay, so we will follow up then with another special meeting, and definitely start thinking about what you can do on your own campus, how you can get your own campus involved, because you are your campus's representative. So I think this is a really interesting opportunity. There's definitely a gap for student engagement, and I think we have a really cool opportunity to get our voices out there and make a difference here. So if we can do this right, it could be pretty good for everyone. All right, so I think we're going to end this meeting. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah, no other thoughts? Okay. All right, so we're going to adjourn this meeting at 10:43 a.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Have a good day, and good luck
Thank
with your
you.
finals.
Have a
Have a
good
good
day,
rest of your day,
everyone.
and good luck with all your finals.
Good luck with your finals, everyone.
Good one.
Bye.